Hi, my name's Don McDowell. I'm the Grassroots Program Manager for the Iowa Farm Bureau Federation. This presentation today is on interstate overpasses. The issue is part of our policy development background for the 2008 policy development process within the Iowa Farm Bureau Federation. Goal here is to provide you a little bit more information, and then at the end of this slides here I have my contact information, which gives you an option to contact me if you have further questions or have other things to consider. So the Iowa DOT is studying the future of I-80, and it's a wide-ranging study on a number of different things. Really the reason behind it is they've noticed that there's been more crashes and fatalities. There's changes in vehicle automation. There's significant anticipated freight traffic growth in the next 10 to 20 years and beyond. And then there's just been more increased traffic congestion. It's a very heavily used interstate system. So as a result, one of the big pieces of the study is they are evaluating the possibility of expanding the number of lanes from the current 4 to 6. So if you expand the interstate and widen it out, Iowa has a whole lot of overpasses that are located on the interstate. And many of those would have to be removed in order to make way for the additional lanes and other associated dirt work and other things that would need to accompany that infrastructure upgrade. So what happens to these overpasses? That's one of the big questions that is, I think, important debate coming. A lot of these overpasses are in rural parts, and they allow county roads to either go over the interstate or that county road to go under the interstate highway. So really the question is, once the highway is expanded, if the Iowa DOT moves ahead with this plan, what happens to the overpasses? Are they all rebuilt? Are only some rebuilt? Who pays for the reconstruction and the restoration? And then who makes the determination between which ones are constructed and which ones are not? And that those particular questions are some of the really big debate going on right now over this particular issue. So what does it cost to put in an overpass over a 6-lane interstate? Well, according to the DOT, it would cost anywhere from about 1.3 to 1.9 million each. And that includes the pavement, earthwork, construction materials, any additional right-of-way, relocating utilities, and then any other cost to manage the traffic as these are being rebuilt. And the last 75 years, but that's a significant cost per piece of infrastructure that either if they're all replaced, that either the state has to pay for, or counties will have to chip in to have those rebuilt. So the DOT did a study to look at all of these rural structures. There's about 64 of them along the entire way of Interstate 80 from river to river that are simply overpasses, meaning there's no exit ramp associated with it. And then they also left out some of the urban overpasses and then those that had more than 1,000 cars over a day. So they kind of used a formula that looked at the average daily traffic, and then looking at a maximum out of distance travel and a minimum out of distance travel. Basically looking at, if this overpass is removed, what are the additional length of time or miles traveled that somebody would have to go to a different road to get to the other side of the interstate or to the nearest community. So what does the DOT's ratings mean? Well, if a overpass got a rating of 1, it's a high priority to replace. And it's important for any number of reasons. 2, moderate priority to replace. 3, average priority to replace. And then 4s and 5s were the lowest priorities. And basically, they assigned one of these ratings to all 64 of these overpasses. So overhead structures with a replacement score of 1 or 2, very high priority, and the DOT recommends full replacement of those once the road is built. Overhead structures with a replacement of 3, probably important, but they would like to see local jurisdictions, meaning probably counties, chip in to also have those rebuilt, some sort of a cost share. And then overhead structures at 4 or 5 are low priorities, saying these structures should not be replaced unless basically the county chips in quite a bit to have it rebuilt. So what does that mean? Well, this chart, and then on the next slide there'll be 2 more charts, show that there are a lot of different overpasses that, based on the DOT's survey and their formula, would probably not be replaced unless county government chips in. In fact, if you look at, they say that there are 17 that have been rated 4 and 4 that have been rated 5, and then there are 26 that are rated 3. That's almost 2/3 of the overpasses that the DOT is saying, we're not sure that they should be replaced unless the county government wants to chip in. Well, that naturally has raised some concerns with county governments along the interstate corridor because they have limited resources, and they're concerned that the DOT is not going to pay to replace these, and therefore, they're going to lose several bridges over the interstate, making it harder for farmers and agribusiness suppliers, emergency personnel, school bus drivers, and you name it, to have access to roads and fields, different communities, without having to go many more miles or many more minutes out of the way. Yeah, so as I mentioned, 47 of the overpasses would not be replaced unless there is significant buy-in from county government. And so it is definitely, in certain counties, there are already county supervisors, and in some cases the local farm bureaus, who are engaging on this issue because they're concerned about some of these loss of access. And as I mentioned, this could have big implications for emergency, fire, and ambulance, school buses, and at 1.3 to 1.9 million each, that's a significant chunk of especially a rural county's infrastructure budget on a year. And if they're having to pay to replace interstate structures, that's less money they have to do other roads and bridges in the county, or to make other infrastructure improvements elsewhere in the county that are certainly needed. So here's some questions to consider. Who should make the decision about whether an overpass is restored after the highway is widened? Should that be the DOT? Should it be county? Should it be some combination of both? Or should overpasses automatically be restored if they were in place before the construction began? And then who should be responsible for paying for the new overpasses? Is it the state? Is it counties? Is it a combination of both? Did the DOT utilize the right criteria for assessing the essentialness of each overpass, or what other elements should have included? How would the loss of these overpasses affect agriculture, emergency services, and other traffic? And do we need to have the interstate widened? If yes, should it just be, is it everywhere or just some places? Again, here's my contact information. Again, Don McDowell, Iowa Farm Bureau Grassroots Program Manager. My email is there. My telephone number is there. Always happy to entertain questions that you might have, and look forward to a robust debate across the state on this important issue of interstate overpasses.